Hello, I'm Thomas Sisso, and I've chosen the Gray Oral Reading Test, GORT 5, for my standardized non-reference test. The author and publisher are J. Lee Windenholt and Brian Bryant. The publisher is ProEd. And the year of publication for this GORT 5 test is 2012. Previous editions are 2001, 1992, 1986, and the original GORT was 1963. The purpose of the GORT 5 is to help identify students who are significantly behind their peers in oral reading, to discover oral reading strengths and weaknesses within individual students, to monitor student progress and special intervention, to be used in research studying reading in school-age students. Some normative information. Many standardized sites were used in the geographical regions. Basically, it followed what the U.S. Census Bureau does. There were 4 regions. There was the South, the West, the Northeast, and the Midwestern U.S. The sample age was age 6 to 23 years and 11 months. There was a total of 2,556 students tested from 33 states. The sample was collected from the fall of 2009 to the spring of 2010. The stratification of the sample was by gender, race, and household income. Students were broken down by African American, Asian, American Indian, Eskimo, Hispanic, and white. Additional examiners were recruited by assessing the ProEd database and asking current users of the previous version, GORT 4, to help with the norming efforts of GORT 5. For reliability, which of course refers to the consistency from which a test measures an ability, there were error variances of content, time, and scorer. The following are the 5 types of correlation coefficients to measure these 3 sources of error. Coefficient alpha, alternate forms, immediate administration, test-retest, alternate forms, delayed administration, and interscorer reliability. Really, all age intervals had very good reliability, but the lowest was fluency, as you may expect, within the 7 to 9-year-old range, with the best being around the 17 to 23-year-old range. In my opinion, this is a reliable test, and here are my reasons why. The interscorer reliability is high due to clear administrative guidelines in the GORT 5's examiner's manual and the opportunity to have plenty of practice scoring. The standard error measurement is used to ensure this is within the zone of the student's true score. The test-retest method is used to ensure that the test results are consistent. The delayed administration is used. Each student that is tested is given both in Form A and Form B, and then retested again in 1 to 2 weeks. Rate, accuracy, fluency, and comprehension were averaged across all age intervals and were all above 0.90, which is even true among the teenagers. The 3 types of validity that were used by the authors are content description, criterion prediction, and construct identification. Keep in mind, tests are valid if they do what they're supposed to do, but these tests are also subjective and the validity is an ongoing process that takes continuous study. So for content description, you want to assess oral reading by reading story passages. This assessment looks at the rate. It speaks to the speed and how well the students just know the words. It directly relates to improvement in reading. Accuracy, the word recognition is key for proficient reading. Fluency, GORT 5 measures this by combining the rate and the accuracy scores. And the comprehension, of course, the validity of the GORT 5 has improved because now instead of having the multiple choice questions, it's gone to an open-ended question where the student has to give a response to the question asked. The criterion prediction validity for the GORT 5 to be valid, it should be similar and related to other tests of reading ability. When measured against other oral reading tests, the differences between these criterion measures were small, which is good. The validity test was measured against different genders, races, and exceptionality status. Overall, the GORT 5 measures up well against other criterion measures, the mean and the standard deviation, and correlates to rate, accuracy, fluency, and comprehension. The construct identification. The types of validity relates to the degree in which underlying traits of this test can be identified. Relationship to age and grade improvement in reading is thought to be a consequence of continuing instruction and practice in reading. The GORT 5 follows this thought process and increases in difficulty around age 14 or 8th grade. Other traits considered include relationship to intelligence and relationship to academic achievement. My opinion on the validity of the GORT 5. The GORT 5 to me is a valid test because it measures what it's supposed to measure. I realize that validity is an ongoing process and can be very subjective, but the authors have done extensive research using statistical-based evidence such as the level of passage dependence and the elimination of multiple choice tests, measurements against other oral reading assessments, and comparison of the mean and standard deviation of the GORT 5 and criterion measures. The GORT 5 yields 5 different types of normative scores. You have a raw score, a grade and age equivalent, percentile ranks, scaled scores, and then the oral reading index. For scaled scores, from the raw score and the percentile ranks, the description terms for the scaled scores are as follows. When you have a scaled score between 17 and 20, that is an oral reading index of above 130, which is considered very, very good. A scaled score of between 15 and 16, you have an ORI of 121 to 130, and that is still considered superior. When you have a scaled score of 13 to 14, that's between 111 and 120 for an ORI. That's above average. 8 to 12 score, you have a 90 to 110 ORI, and that is in the average range. A scaled score of 6 to 7 gives you an ORI of 80 to 89, and that is considered below average. And then a 4 or 5 is an ORI between 70 and 79, which is considered poor. Some modifications and accommodations and adaptability of limited English language. On this particular test, I didn't see any modifications, accommodations, or adaptability for students with limited knowledge of the English language. The way that this test is conducted, which is orally, makes it difficult to have any of these available for this assessment, in my opinion. Now, for the price of the GORT 5, and its 4 components, the total package of the GORT 5 is $275. And that does include both Form A and Form B, both tests. Examiner qualifications. Currently, I feel that I'm not quite ready or qualified to conduct this assessment. The examiner's manual states examiners who administer and interpret this GORT 5 should have some formal training and assessment. This training should result in a basic understanding of testing statistics, general procedures governing test administration, scoring and interpretation, and specific information about reading evaluation. If given the opportunity, however, I would like to receive further training and then possibly conduct an assessment with this manual with a trained, experienced professional by my side, at least for the first one or two. Administrative design and the time for the test. I really like how this test is based on rate, accuracy, which those two average out to become fluency, and then comprehension. I believe that this helps identify areas where specific reading issues may exist. In addition, these reading passages, they're very similar to what students do in class. So I just think that there might be less test anxiety about taking a formal assessment. If they're already doing this assessment, it's usually like what they're reading in class. Furthermore, since multiple choice questions have been eliminated with this updated version, the 5th one, examiners can rest assured that there is more passage dependency. In other words, they'll have to know how to answer the question and not just guess for the right answer. Testing time for the GORT 5 is about 15 to 45 minutes. This test can be administered in 2 sessions, but usually they like it to be administered in 1. And now for an objective review of the GORT 5. Dr. Anna H. Hall of Clemson University reviewed this assessment tool. And she stated that since multiple measures and detailed miscue analysis, miscue is the term that they use in this manual instead of error. They use miscue. Miscue analysis is required during the assessment, then ample training time, at least 3 to 6 hours, should be conducted. And this is even for trained professionals. For new or beginning administrators, perhaps more training and more time might be required so that accurate information could be obtained. In addition, Dr. Hall stated that she believes that some children became anxious when told to read quickly but accurately. With that being said, she did state that once examiners are trained, the GORT 5 is an excellent tool to use along with others such as parent and teacher observation and other assessments to measure students. Even in the manual, they mention never to use just one tool to measure a student's reading ability. So that concludes my YouTube video of the GORT 5. Thank you very much. Have a good night.